All right, buckle up, cricket fans, because we are diving deep into one of the biggest matches of the ICC Champions Trophy 2025, the semifinal clash between India and Australia. And let me tell you, the stakes couldn't have been higher. With a spot in the final on the line, these two cricketing giants went head-to-head in Dubai. And we're going to break it all down for you, using, of course, all the commentary and highlights from the match.
Now, the semifinal was especially interesting because of how these two teams arrived at this stage. India, they just cruised through Group A, totally undefeated, showing everyone why their batting lineup is so feared. But Australia, on the other hand, they had a bit of a bumpy ride, just managing to scrape into the semis as the second team from their group.
Yeah, it was a real clash of styles brewing, for sure. And to kick things off, Australia wins the toss and decides to bat first. Makes sense, right? Got to put those runs on the board. But even right then, the commentators were already talking about how crucial it was for India to grab those early wickets, to kind of control the flow of runs from this powerful Aussie batting lineup.
Oh, absolutely. Those early wickets can be game changers, especially against a team like Australia. Packed with explosive batsmen. The commentators even singled out Travis Head as a major threat, and, they were right.
Yeah, they called him dangerous. What makes him so dangerous, though? What should India have been watching out for?
Well, you see, Head is this fearless batsman who just loves to attack the bowlers, especially the spinners. He's got this knack for taking them on early in the innings, disrupting their rhythm and putting the pressure right back on the fielding captain. India would have had to be very strategic with how they bowled to him, maybe try to keep him off strike or force him into defensive shots.
So it's not just raw power then, it's about that strategic approach too. And speaking of strategy, I remember this moment early on where a massive six was hit. And the Hindi commentary, well, they just erupted. It was like, but you about 205 might come again.
Oh, yeah. They were basically saying it's a boundary, a six.
Yeah.
Yes, with this six, they've started strong. The score is now 205. That six really set the tone for how Australia would approach their innings, showing everyone they weren't afraid to go for those big shots, even in a high-pressure semifinal.
Absolutely. Now, we can't talk about Australia's batting without mentioning the maestro himself, Steve Smith. And I just love this quote from the commentary about his shot making. Yeah, they were basically saying Smith decided to take on the bowler, and what a fine shot he played. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it really does sum up Smith's brilliance perfectly. He's not just a power hitter. He's got this incredible ability to analyze the field. Find those gaps and time his shots to perfection. It's almost like he's playing chess out there, not cricket.
It's true. He just dissects the field and knows exactly where the ball needs to go. And then, of course, you've got Glenn Maxwell, the unpredictable wild card in the Aussie lineup. The commentators were on the edge of their seats whenever he was at the crease.
Yeah, and that's what makes Maxwell so captivating to watch. He can completely flip the momentum of a match with his unorthodox shots. Remember that reverse sweep he played for four? Even the commentators were caught off guard. They were like, Abhibur Sisi, Holla there, Ahmed, Holla the Pali, for Baha, Ella, that's about thing. Helle him, put that hilarious like a Wexler thing is. Oh, darn, it's no thing. Which, for those who don't speak Hindi, means...
Here comes the reverse sweep and a boundary. We haven't seen a reverse sweep from Maxwell. I was also surprised.
Exactly. It just goes to show you that with Maxwell, you just never know what to expect.
You said it.
Yeah.
And all this unpredictable aggression from the Aussie batsmen, well, it helped them to post a massive total of 292. That's a huge target to chase, especially in a semifinal. Talk about pressure. The commentators were saying India was now facing a, a big target. You could just feel the tension in the air. The crowd must have been on the edge of their seats.
With Australia setting that huge target of 292, the pressure was really on India to deliver. And this is where the mental side of cricket becomes super important.
It's amazing how much the commentators focus on the psychological aspect of the game, talking about how that pressure can impact even the best players, leading to those unforced errors, those missed opportunities.
Yeah, and that's what makes cricket so fascinating, I think. It's not just about physical skills or technique. It's also about that mental resilience, that ability to stay calm and focused under pressure.
Absolutely. So how did India's chase unfold? Did they rise to the occasion?
Well, they started off pretty steady with Rohit Sharma opening the innings. He played a decent knock. But unfortunately, he didn't get the big score everyone was hoping for, getting out for 43 runs.
Yeah, the commentators sounded pretty disappointed when he got out. They even said something about it being a close call. What happened there?
The Hindi commentary was pretty dramatic, saying, "Hey, keep finding good guy." Which translates to, it seemed like a close call, but they've given him out. Rohit Sharma is out for 43.
So it sounds like there might have been some debate about the decision. Do you think that impacted India's chase at all?
It's tough to say for sure, but losing a big player like Rohit at that point definitely put more pressure on the rest of the team.
Right. And then you've got Virat Kohli coming in, India's captain and, one of the greatest batsmen in the world. How did he approach this chase?
Well, the commentators were really praising Kohli for playing basically a responsible and very sensible, patient innings. He seemed to understand the situation and the need to anchor the innings,
So he wasn't going for those big shots like we saw from Australia.
Not right away, no. It seemed like his plan was to rotate the strike, pick up singles and twos wherever possible, and build a solid foundation. He knew that losing his wicket early would be a big blow for India.
It's interesting how different those approaches were. Australia was all about that aggression and quick runs, but Kohli was more about that calculated patience.
Exactly. That's what makes cricket so tactical. There's no one right way to play. You got to adapt based on the match situation.
And speaking of tactics, the commentators talked about some interesting decisions from both sides, like field placements, bowling changes, Can you break down some of that for us?
Sure. One thing that caught my attention was India's decision to have 5 fielders inside the 30-yard circle at one point. It's a tactic they use to restrict singles and force the batsmen to take more risks.
So it's a high-risk, high-reward kind of thing. How did Australia deal with that?
Well, players like Maxwell and Smith are known for their ability to find gaps in the field. They weren't afraid to take the risk and go for the big shots.
I guess that's what separates those world-class batsmen. They can adapt to anything.
Absolutely. And another point the commentators brought up was the importance of rotating the strike. In a tense chase like this, the batsmen need to keep the scoreboard moving, even if it's just with singles, to keep the pressure off.
Makes sense. Every run counts. Speaking of which, one crucial moment the commentators focused on was the dismissal of Josh Inglis. Didn't he score a century in the last match?
He did. He was in top form coming into this semifinal, so getting him out early was a big win for India. The bowler who got him was Varun Chakravarti, who the commentators called a wicket taker.
What exactly does that mean, a wicket taker?
Basically, it means Chakravarti is really good at breaking partnerships and getting those crucial wickets. He might not be the most economical bowler, but his ability to get wickets makes him a huge asset.
So he's the guy you bring in when you need to change the momentum.
Exactly, and getting Inglis out definitely shifted the momentum in India's favor.
For sure. Now, I don't want to spoil the ending, but the commentators were saying this match came down to the wire. Were they right? Did India pull off the chase?
Let's just say the chase had its share of twists and turns, with some amazing moments from both teams. It was a real nail-biter for both the players and the fans.
Okay, you've got me hooked. I need to know what happened.
Wow.
So we left off with India's chase still hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there were some more twists and turns to come. I'm dying to know what happened.
Well, India, they definitely didn't give up. There were some really close calls, some incredible shots played under so much pressure. The commentators were highlighting every single thing, every boundary, every dot ball, every decision. The tension was building and building.
Oh, I bet. You can practically hear the roar of the crowd through the commentary. Feeling that hope with every run scored.
Oh, absolutely. It must have been electric in that stadium. But then, as the match got closer and closer to the end, the tone of the commentary, it kind of shifts. You can sense a change in momentum as Australia's bowlers really started to tighten things up. And then these words come, the words that silenced the entire crowd.
Ahmedabad 43.
Hold on, Rohit got out, even after such a careful innings.
Yeah, he did. The commentators were saying it seemed like a close call, but they've given him out. Rohit Sharma is out for 43. He tried so hard to anchor that chase, but it just wasn't enough in the end.
Man, that's heartbreaking. I can't imagine how disappointed the Indian fans must have been. Yeah, the commentary really captures that feeling, that shift from excitement and hope to just complete silence. It's a reminder that even the best players, with the best plans, they can't always win.
It's true. Even though we already knew the result coming into this, you really kept the suspense going. And I think that speaks to how good the commentary was.
Yeah.
It's not just about describing what's happening. It's about capturing those emotions, the drama of it all.
I couldn't agree more. These commentators did a brilliant job of bringing us right into the heart of the match.
Absolutely. Well, it's been an amazing journey breaking down this semifinal with you. We've talked about tactics, seen some amazing moments of skill, and explored the mental side of the game. What are some of your biggest takeaways from this match?
Well, for me, this match really showed just how important those early wickets are, especially in a huge game like a semifinal. Australia's aggressive batting put India on the back foot right away. And those early breakthroughs, well, they were key to setting up their win.
And on the other side, we saw how crucial a calm and collected innings can be when you're chasing a big score. Kohli's patience almost turned the match around for India. It just shows the power of adapting your game plan to the situation.
Exactly. This match was a perfect example of how both attack and defense can be so effective in cricket.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
Now, before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with a question. We saw two very different approaches to chasing that big target. Australia going all-out attack, and India taking the more measured route. Which strategy do you think is more effective? Is it better to go hard from the start or build slowly towards the target?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's no easy answer. It really depends on the situation, the teams involved, all those little factors. But it's definitely something for all the cricket fans out there to think about.
I think so too. Well, this deep dive has given us all plenty to chew on as we continue to explore and appreciate this amazing sport. If you want to see the highlights from this epic semifinal, be sure to check out the links in our show notes. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of sports. But until then, keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and most importantly, keep that passion for the game alive. Thanks for joining us.